Welcome to Internal Affairs of the Mind, where we don't chase trends, but we chase the truth, where reflection is weaponized and reality's got no place to hide. Some people preach, some people pretend. Me, I investigate. I'm Greg Thompson, a retired cop with over 2 decades experience, but a lifelong investigator. And now, a full-time interrogator of the human condition. This isn't therapy. It's not philosophy class. It's an investigation into everything they told you not to question and everything you told yourself you didn't have time to. Let's crack today's case. Let's chop it up. Hello, family. I'm back, but I'm definitely not the same. This season starts in a place I thought I understood mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. A place I tried to prepare for when the truth started showing itself back in September of 2024. But nothing prepares you for this. Nothing. There's a word people keep using with me quite often: struggling. But that word doesn't belong here. This is much deeper than that. This is what's left when the fight doesn't end, it just changes shape. I'm no longer standing on solid ground. I'm learning how to exist in something unstable, something unresolved. And if I'm being honest, this has forced me to question everything, faith included. Not in a clean, polished way, not in the kind of way that fits neatly into some Sunday message or recantation of a Bible verse. I'm talking about the kind of questions that don't get answered, the kind that sit with you, the kind that press you, test you, and don't ever let up. So this season, this isn't surface level for me. This is confrontation with loss, with identity, with belief, with the internal war that most people refuse to talk about out loud. And there's no script for this, no clean resolution waiting outside at the end of the episode. Just the process, real, unfiltered, and at times, if I'm being quite honest, very uncomfortable. But if you're willing to go there with me, we're going to break this down, piece by piece. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, maybe, just maybe, we find something real enough for us to hold on to. Or at the very least, we learn how to keep moving inside the questions. So welcome back to Internal Affairs of the Mind. I will remember the moment until my last breath. The sting, the pain, definitely wasn't a dream, and definitely not something I could have prepared for like I thought I was. My wife, my partner, and everything was gone. I will always remember her smile and laughter, the smell of her hair, and the perfect fit of her hand inside mine when we held them together. She lost her battle with cancer at only age 41, after 19 months of strength personified. And I might add 7 months longer than the doctors believed she could survive, because that's who she was, a fighter. Nearly 2 years of hoping, praying for miracles that never came, for time we'd never have, and for answers we'd never get. And still, in the end, none of it was enough. I'm still living in it every day, and I've learned grief doesn't stop. Faith doesn't answer. Life doesn't pause to give you a script or the map for the journey forward. I'm now fully battle tested and permanently engaged in warfare, not with the world, but with myself, with my loss, with a faith I'm struggling to understand. I get asked nearly every day, multiple times a day, "How are you?" It's what people do. But my answer, my new mantra, is very simple, but it's this: I'm worse than yesterday, but better than tomorrow. I'm going to repeat that again. I'm worse than yesterday, but better than tomorrow. Because that's what grief does. And this is why I'm doing this episode. See, I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. It's tidy, it's poetic, it even gives structure to loss, especially when life and relationships get messy, as they often do. A lifetime, well, that feels complete, feels accomplished. A season feels finite, easier to accept since we expect a deadline, a finish. And a reason, well, that feels purposeful. But what about a category for none of the above? For when grief hits, sudden, raw, completely uninvited, those categories to me seemingly just collapse. There's no reason you can see, no season to reflect on, or season that you expected, and maybe most painful and difficult to reconcile of all, no lifetime left to cherish. Sometimes relationships just don't fit into a tidy box. Perhaps because this loss isn't meant to ever make sense. Perhaps it's got one true meaning, just to interrupt everything. And that's where I believe the hardest grief lives. See, most endings, if you will, even the painful ones, have some sense of rhythm and probably even some sense of expectation. You argue, you drift apart, you reconcile, you say goodbye, maybe with a hug, a kiss, a final word. You have a chance to leave something behind. Eventually, you integrate that ending into your story, that finality, because it happened organically and probably according to the plans of at least one or both people involved. So you honor it. You move forward step by step, day by day, farther and farther moving away from the pain of the separation and onto newer and more hopeful horizons. But sudden or unexpected loss, that's different. No warning, no real planning, no script or a playbook, and most probably no sense of expectation. My thoughts are it's different because that relationship didn't end. It just stopped mid conversation, mid laugh, mid life, mid everything. And you're left holding fragments of what was, what could have been, and now what will never, ever be. And that's why this hurts differently, why the absence echoes what feels like almost endlessly. Closure isn't offered, tangible, palatable, nothing. It's not closure. There's no process to reconcile. You just carry that interruption, and then you're forever transformed by it. Most of us probably believe or need to believe that death is the natural end of a relationship. But the truth I've found, it is not. Not really. Relationships can't be and shouldn't be defined by a calendar date. They're the conversations, the routines, the rituals, the shared laughter and grief, just the small nuances of life, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's the relationship. So when someone dies too soon, it didn't end, it's frozen mid course, leaving us suspended in a space that can't be touched or edited. That's the difference. Ordinary and actual endings can eventually be reconciled. Sudden loss, on the other hand, it cannot. And while we're living in that suspended space, that's where the weight of grief seems to be the heaviest. I've heard it best described as this type of grief is love with nowhere to go. So, for me at least, and I venture to guess many of you having experienced similar loss as well, this is where our faith reasonably gets tested, challenged in ways you may even worry will affect your salvation if that's your journey. Because for me, I prayed for miracles, I prayed for cures, I prayed for time. Hell, I begged and prayed simultaneously. I encouraged and requested an army of prayer warriors to help us win this war. And still, she's gone. And the weight of that, It's hard to verbalize because she, if anyone ever was worthy, she was worthy of a miracle. She was worthy and deserving of being a testimony of his goodness and love and grace. Part of me wants so badly to cling to God's plan because that's my faith, that's my hope, still my prayers, still my hope. And that's something to hold on to because my world feels so hollow. But the other part of me, though, screams, rageful. Why this? Why her? Why now? And maybe you feel it differently. Maybe faith gives you comfort you don't have to question, or maybe you don't have it at all. But for me, it's real messy, real raw and exposed. And there is and never will be an answer, not one that I can ever make sense of. It's how I imagine Job must have felt during his trials, standing amongst rubble and brokenness. Faith hasn't yet disappeared, don't get me wrong, but damn it, it's exposed and is vulnerable and is being fully challenged to my core. Faith doesn't erase the pain, it doesn't soften our grief, it doesn't explain the suddenness or provide answers of any kind. Yet it holds me still just enough to keep moving, keep struggling, keep pushing through it. And maybe that's going to have to be enough for now. In fact, I believe I will ask God why for the rest of my life, and never will I truly understand it. I get it. But even if God Himself came in front of me and told me the reason, I still don't think I could ever accept it. Because here's my newfound wisdom to share. Maybe you already knew this, but secular or spiritual, grief doesn't care or ask permission. Belief or disbelief doesn't change the reality or the agony of it. More or less faithful doesn't change the intensity of the grief that takes hold after losing someone of such magnitude. Loss is loss. Pain is pain. Some things just happen, period. And some days, actually, if I'm keeping it real, practically every single day, it's unbearable. You're not just grieving what was, you're constantly grieving what never will be. Conversations started but left unfinished, and those that will never happen. Milestones never reached, lessons never learned, destinations we never get to share, and laughter never again heard. The relationship, now frozen midlife, echoes constantly. It lives in routines, in the empty spaces, in our memories. And every single day, it reminds you of what's missing. And even more excruciating, what can't be reclaimed. See, living with this interruption means you're fighting battles inside yourself every day, questioning your own strength, questioning your faith, questioning the fairness of life, even questioning whether the love you shared has any permanence if it can be ripped away so suddenly. There's no manual for this, no script, and there's no timeline. You survive it simply by enduring it, by facing it, by letting yourself feel the rawness of absence, and most importantly, without apologizing for it. Hell, refuse to apologize for it because it is the most important thing you'll ever have left. Your ability to feel all the feelings that come with this heavy a burden. That's the battlefield I'm still living in every single day, and I'm sure some of you may be too. But I beg you, as I tell myself and I beg myself daily, don't stay there forever. Why? Well, because amongst all this chaos and disruption, even in this raw, unrelenting grief, there is still something unexpected. No, it's not answers, and it's not closure like people believe, and there's no neat categories. There is, however, endurance, courage, honesty, and legacy. Facing absence, acknowledging it, and carrying it, that's truthfully faith in action. That's living through loss without letting it destroy you. That's living through loss, carrying the burden of that pain, but also learning to carry their light forward, letting it guide you through the darkness that's sure to come. To share their light with those that weren't gifted the opportunity to feel their love and their presence, that's a gift. To use their light to ignite your own extinguished or dimmed flame so that you can carry on with the reason for your season throughout your lifetime. Maybe relationships aren't meant to be a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Maybe they're an interruption. And maybe that's enough to make them real, enough to make them matter, enough to teach us how to hold on, how to let go, but how to keep moving forward anyway. So if you're feeling like me, lost in grief, questioning faith, staring at absence that makes absolutely no sense, feeling lonely even though you're surrounded by people, know this: you're not alone. And it is okay to not be okay. This type of broken, the layers and the levels to this is normal. May not feel it, but it is. Faith can be raw, wounded, doubting. Grief can be heavy, blinding, endless. But enduring it, questioning it, surviving it, that's how we honor those we've lost. That's how we carry them with us, even when time refused to cooperate. Maybe we'll never get full answers. I actually believe we never get full answers. Maybe some relationships are just meant to stop abruptly. But in surviving them, in carrying them forward, we will transform and we can honor and we will endure. And that has to be enough. Make it more than enough and carry it with you like a hand to hold and guide you in the dark. This has been Internal Affairs of the Mind, where we break in, strip it down, and get real. So hopefully together, we can build ourselves back up armed with wisdom. Peace and blessings to everyone. Be kind. Be a good human. Thanks for listening. I'm Greg Thompson, and we'll chop it up next time.